Welcome to the Universe Inside Our Mind. I'm Dr. David Jubb. We have an incredible show for you today. It's all about a trauma reenactment syndrome that can be going on for you and others around you. I'd like to describe what this is. Again, I'm going to say it's a trauma reenactment syndrome. Typically what the person has done, whether aware of it or not, has taken on the behaviour of the victor. Taken on the behaviour of the victor. So when people controlled you, they yanged you around, and we're going to talk about how people can be controlled. But that was not good, and no resolution was perhaps for you internally. If there was, great, because then the matter is resolved, no big deal, done, But wherever somebody had an issue, where one had some issue and you were jostled, it wasn't really resolved, you didn't resolve this, people jostled you, and they kind of said, well, hey, I'm not going to see you for the next whatever, or, well, you've done that, you've got to go over there, and I'm not going to, and then you ignore, and it was ignored. There are four primary ways that people use to control, and the primary way that's used to control is through aloofness and being dissociated. What is the meaning of this? That is when people say, oh, well, I'm just not going to talk to that person. That's controlling. A person says, oh, I'm just going to split and I'm not going to be around. That's controlling. That's a control freak. That happens to be the primary way people actually control others. They just say, oh, well, I'm not going to talk about this. I won't mention it. I won't bring it up. It's like, but if you did, and if you were able to, you would really be able to resolve something perhaps. I mean, what you're doing is controlling the other person because you were controlled yourself at some point. And you learned how to have the victor's behaviour. You didn't want to be on the brunt end of being controlled, and that was not good. And no one ever talked to you about this or anything, but you learned that that person who had the upper hand was sort of doing things like that perhaps. Maybe you escaped, because you were aware of this, and you just had an integrity not to be compromised in yourself no matter what. You may have had, but then we can have many of us not necessarily known and not had a consciousness about this. So whenever there was a trauma and things were not resolved and you were jostled. What do I mean by jostled? I mean someone put food in your mouth and they said, hey, this is the way to control you. Oh, we're going to go get you something. So whenever anybody did anything of such and you were not able to really learn as a result, there was no resolution. People actually did things to jostle you because, something was not so comfortable, and you reacted as you should react when you're being yanked around. It's very important that you're able to have the voice to say, oh, that hurt. Many people, when they hurt, they don't want to tell others that they hurt or that they got hurt, but that's so very important because only other people can learn as a result of your being able to say, uh-oh, I've had my clock radio around my head and my TV on for 3, 4, 5 years or longer, and that injured me. Do you have yours around your bed? Because I've been asked to remove it away from the bed and not have it on much. If you have it on, for as long as you have it on, there will be a time that passes by that there will be no positive and negative ions in the space where that computer was. Nothing will go there, not a positive or a negative ion, and it will be repelled from that spot. Wow. That's right. You actually poison the spot. But if Claire has got a new bed and has changed her furniture a bit, then the electromagnetic energy won't be as present, imbued in the organic material and stuff that she has in the water vapor around everything in the room. But if you want to change that around, you need to actually clean out, clear away, throw away things, get rid of things. Do not use your home to store anything, please. Make sure you do have a shelf, and one of them should be empty. Make sure in your cabinet, in your bathroom cabinet, one shelf is empty. Make sure a shelf is empty in your kitchen. Do not have all shelves full in your kitchen, because it shows that you other than are aware of space. And you have to have a value for space. When you have an empty shelf, you have a value for empty space. When you have an empty drawer, you have a value for empty space. If you haven't thrown anything away, I recommend spring cleaning's coming. Spring is coming. Get rid of and move things around. Get rid of the dust. If you have not got a new pillow, get a new pillow. All right. We're digressing into some other things, but let's go back to the topic. But anyway, you know what? There's so many things. When we're sick, we can be not so well. Most sick people, you know, they can be major control freaks, you know. But somebody can be have been sick, they've learned how to be sick, and they're better sick people, you know, and they're good. They're not too bad. They don't control anybody, you know. They're not. But most people, when they're sick, they're the biggest control freaks you've ever met in your life, because they are underneath actually, and when they're sick, it all comes out. But you should do everything you can to be a good sick person. You should not complain if you can help it, and you should do what you can to put things in terms of energy that's helpful, because as you do this for yourself, you are doing it for everybody else. Please, use your voice for others. If you use your voice on the outside, it is because someone's listening. Speak for their benefit, really. Otherwise, you're just ironing a shirt with a fish, and that's not good. Okay? But really, you've got to be aware that your voice and everything you bring up is kind and considerate, and how's this being heard? So the primary way most of us get controlled is by aloofness. Somebody said to you, oh, well, you were supposed to be going to such and such a place, you're not going to go now? No, that's it. It's like, but and environmental kinds of conditions can have been for a lot of us when we were growing up, where mum and dad did all sorts of scared straight sort of stuff. I'm going to scare you straight. And that does not work. No, it doesn't. That backfires. That child is like an arrow which will be turned back around at yourself. Yeah, and so you don't do that. So most ways that we were controlled, the primary way was by people being aloof and just deciding not to connect, or not sharing energetically with you, but controlling you this way, and you didn't like that. That's really, you know, didn't feel good. Even sometimes days passed by and the person sort of was still mad and upset and, you know, not connecting, and you were a kid and, oh gee, wow, that's really wrong, you know what I mean? There should be over in a minute, half a minute, that's it, like next. You know, that's how we're supposed to work. We're not supposed to harbour stuff. Whoa, that's not right. And when children see adults, some of these adults are so marvellous at being able to meditate. They can hold their state constant for 1 year. They make great meditators, but they're using it in the wrong way, quite using it in the wrong way. But and so that's the primary way that we control others. When we come back, we're going to talk more about a trauma reenactment syndrome and how it is that one can have been acting out what the victor's role was without knowing this. As it is, you become more aware of what you're doing yourself. As you become aware of what others have been doing, you have a greater choice. You're not affected. You just see things falling like a leaf outside the window. It doesn't affect you the way that it did. You become aware what the reason is behind that, what the person's doing. And you go, oh, I see. But when we have not known, we were bothered, we didn't know, it just seemed... But you do need to have the ability to resolve things yourself, and this does not require an environmental circumstance. You should have the skill inside to harvest and be able to manufacture and collect and do this yourself, and not be reliant on someone else to have to collect it for you, and then you know what I mean? Be very good at it. Reframe things that people say.